Mega Man 3 is a game that never really grows into its own. And right as it looks like it's about to do just that, a Capcom executive busts down a door and shoves the game's face full of empty calories before walking it to the market, hoping it's fat and juicy enough for all those hungry kids. But the thing about livestock fed with empty calories? You can taste it in the steak. To see what I mean, we've got to turn to Mega Man 3's tumultuous development. Akira Kitamura, our creative protagonist spearheading the first two games, quit Capcom in the year-plus long gap between 2's release and the start of 3's development. In his stead is KJ Inafune, an artist who steps up to handle the lead planner role once the seat is left empty midway into development. Inafune has fond memories of the passion-driven creative development of Mega Man 2. The creative challenges on the set of 3 left a much more sour taste in the guy's mouth. Between wrangling teams that were falling behind deadlines, Inafune was butting up against a superior who, quote, didn't really understand Mega Man the way his predecessor did, making development strenuous from the start. To cap it all off, the team was forced to ship the game early and long before they felt it was ready. As Inafune himself said in a quote that's definitely not on Wikipedia, so don't even bother looking, quote, I knew that if we had more time to polish it, we could do a lot of things better, make it a better game, but the company said that we needed to release it. The whole environment behind what went into the production of the game is what I least favored. Numbers 1 and 2, I really wanted to make the games. I was so excited about them. Number 3, it just turned very different. So that's the environment that gave birth to this piece. Hardly fertile soil for growing a Mega Man-shaped tree. Even one of the main voices behind the thing felt like it landed out of key. So let's examine why, and see what this team was able to stitch together with a captain on their maiden voyage, and with the oppressive corporate heat out there to incinerate creative love with cold, profit-driven efficiency. Will the love win out, or will its arteries be slashed by deadlines, leaving our would-be Mega Man 3 bled dry of anything interesting? Personally, I'm not hoping it's the latter, but I'm bracing myself for it, because corporations are built from the devil's excrement and they poison everything they touch. That makes every executive king of their own feces tower, and they should not be proud of that. When we last left the Blue Bomber, he had thwarted Dr. Wily's machinations of malintent for the second time. Begging for his life, Wily revealed to us the tragic motivations behind his grabs at world domination. While in college, Dr. Thomas Light, father of Mega Man, vehemently bullied Wily over raising genuine ethical concerns. Wily dared to ask whether imbuing Roombas with artificial life was really a benefit to the Roomba, and for this, Light leaked Wily's nudes online. After that, Wily was forced to watch as Light revolutionized the field of robotics, introducing sentience to all kinds of household appliances. Wily felt this was no better than manufacturing slaves, and after every inch of modern life had been taken over by Light's machine helpers, the man finally broke. Mega Man could feel himself at what could very well end up a crossroads in human history. His father stood at one end, the futurist who believed that any social sacrifice was necessary in humanity's advancement. Dr. Light wasn't oblivious to the ethical concerns, it's just that he believed pursuit of that advancement would naturally create a more just society. But on the other end was Wily, a genius of almost equal measure, begging humanity to stop to consider just for a moment how the robot might feel. Sure, it likes being a walking vacuum, but that's only because it was programmed to. We build robots with a particular purpose and then make them enjoy living as we desire them to. Namely, in service to us. Wily doesn't have faith in the equalizing power of science. The only faith he has is that, if there is a voiceless thing to exploit, humanity will exploit it. In the end, torn between societal forces, Mega Man decided to put his faith squarely in his father. Knowing Wily would never cease his attempts at tearing down Light's robotic empire, our hero resolved to do what he felt was necessary. Solemnly, he aimed his Mega Buster and fired a single shot of bubble lead into the face of Dr. Albert Wily. We cut to a year and a half later. Wily survived being shot in the face and, after a lengthy recovery period, returns to the world a changed man. He claims to have seen the errors of his ways, wanting to forge a path into the future alongside Thomas Light. Wily figures if the tides are headed one way, he can do more good for the world riding the current rather than spitefully drowning against it. This is joyous news to Dr. Light. For years, he had harbored a secret desire to make amends with Wily over his terrible bullying and to put their incredible minds to use on a singular, transformative robotics project he knew would change the world forever. Wily is welcomed into the lab with open arms, and the doctors start work on their ultimate project. It's revealed to be Gamma, a peacekeeping robot. This is another dream of Light's, to take what his robotics had done to private services and apply them to public ones, creating Gamma as a one-robot army that could police the increasingly crime-ridden streets of Toledo. With the help of Dr. Wily, the two savants have whipped up the most advanced machine on the planet. There's something very homoerotic in there if you look hard enough. Gamma is so powerful he needs the energy of 8 collapsed stars to grant him life. The good gay doctors, in turn, build 8 robots to scavenge uncharted planets where the stars have fallen. These robot masters suddenly go AWOL, scattered across the cosmos. When Mega Man hears that Dr. Light's dream is jeopardized, our hero sets out to those uncharted lands light years from home to retrieve the fallen stars. He's not alone, though. Dr. Light has decided to use that robotics knowledge to build something thankfully less sentient. Seeing how useful the items were last time, Light converted them into a cute robot dog friend in the form of Rush. He had hoped never to have to send Rush in a battle, wishing him to remain a purely joyous gift. Alas, fate has other plans. The first robot master I recommend going after is Top Man. I tried going after Snake Man first, but I got my ass handed to me. Rest assured, though, I will have my revenge. Mega Man holds grudges. Top Man has made his lair into a giant glass greenhouse. Apparently he landed on Planet Pot and was planning on making a killing when he got back home. It's in this stage we can notice some design differences now that Kitamura is no longer spearheading the decisions. The most immediate point of comparison to me are these robot cat enemies. I'm reminded of the Frienders in 2, who we fought a few times in rooms with differing elevations. Kitamura made clear that, because of technical limitations, each room of the prior games were very intentionally designed to test your movement and offense in a controlled space. In Mega Man 3, the design feels less intentional. These cats are, on paper, a similar enemy, but the arenas we face them in feel cramped. As on top of juggling the timing of your shots while avoiding the bouncing yarn spat by Robo Garfield here, not only does this feel less intentional, it feels like the designers are throwing too much at you at once. Still, Top Man's stage is on the easier side to me because of the spacious design giving you room to deal with most enemies on offer. At least this gives you space to play with your new move because Dr. Light greased our bright blue ass and now Mega Man can slide. It isn't used very effectively here. Top Man mostly just hit energy pickups under low ceilings, but this is a killer movement addition, so I'm keeping my eye on the level design to see what fun the devs can crank out of this mechanic. And the spinning idiot here ended up being a fun boss to gun down with just my Mega Buster. Top Man has completely lost his marbles, however, and can't be reasoned with. Mega Man tries to reach the carrying robot he knows lies beneath the crazed exterior he's now dealing with, but it seems that robot is truly gone, and we resolve to put an end to Top Man's madness the only way the Blue Bomber knows how. Once and for all. With the top spin acquired, I opted to head to the boss weak to my now lethal spin, Shadow Man. Shadow Man has made his base into a gargantuan network of sewer tunnels. He turned to harvesting the planet's molten core to power his mining operation, and this refinery is the result. We don't have much time to wallow in the scenery because we're attacked by a newcomer to the Mega Man series, a bot calling himself Breakman. He has abilities much like our own, in that he can hop and shoot. He is far too trusting, however, and assumes I won't just unload a mega clip into his back when he hops over me. My man just jumps and shoots at you. That's all he does. Thanks for nothing, jackass. This level throws somewhat benign stage hazards in these black lights that turn the stage into a laser tag arena. This is in conjunction with less benign walking grenades, but you can shoot through walls. You have to have reflexes worth a damn for that to matter, though. Since me and Granddad share the same reaction time, and I'm only comparing post-mortem, I developed the very helpful strategy of spraying shots as I jump. This usually takes care of any approaching enemies long before they become a problem. Plus, I recommend mapping the turbo buttons in your emulator, because auto-firing the Mega Buster is insanely helpful. I also map the fire buttons to the triggers, just to really upset somebody. Nah, the real challenge of the level is in this platforming section, where you have to make incredibly tight jumps that permeate the classic Mega Man games while dealing with parachuting Samuels. And this is where something clicked for me. While those single-room encounters feel cramped, Mega Man 3 excels in these long rooms where you're presented with a tug-of-war with the enemies. There's a push and pull where they attack and you have a limited window to dodge, and then a similarly limited window to attack in whatever way you choose from Mega Man's expanding attack options. Right now it's just the Mega Buster, but even then, note how the parachuting Samuels sway. On these tiny platforms above bottomless pits, every pixel of ground I have matters. If I walk too far to the right, I'll collide into them, and knockback could send me to my death. That means I have to wait for them to sway to the right before I have enough room to lay into them with my mega pellets. The tug of war is built into the enemy behavior. It sounds simple, but it's electric in practice. The threat of death will electrify a lot of things, actually. That's why I rigged this Rube Goldberg machine into a shotgun to blow my head off if I silence my alarm too many times. It's the only way I'll wake up. It was also thanks to these tight platforming sections that I realized any slipperiness in Mega Man's control is completely gone. His jump is still a little heavy, but he's a boy made of metal, so I'm not expecting him to be light on his feet. I was expecting a special weapon that wouldn't do more damage to me than the boss who's weak to it, but alas, the top spin. The thing turns your body into a lethal spinning blade. The problem is, you have to run into an enemy to use it, and in the case of this moving boss, what happens more often than not is you just colliding into him before having a chance to hit the kill button. The timing necessary to use this thing effectively is infuriating to get down, and you leave yourself so open to attack, I don't even think using it is worth it. I swear to the good Lord above, there's no way to use this weapon without taking touch damage. Eventually though, Shadow Man's weakness to spinning is his undoing, and Mega Man emerges victorious yet again. Shadow Man 2 is erratic and confused. After knocking him around a bit, Mega Man catches but a brief glimpse of the robot he knew, the robot that was sent into the unknown for humanity's benefit. Shadow Man tells us, his electric voice wavering, he tells us he felt so alone out here in the void. He wants to be free. It was with great spiritual pain Mega Man made that final spin. He could give Shadow Man nothing else but his ending. It's at this point I want to check in with Mega Man himself. We must remember, he was built to be Dr. Light's assistant. His purpose is in the lab. Yet, in this third adventure forcing the once peaceful Rock to take up arms, Mega Man must plunder new depths of violence against fellow men of metal. That would be enough on its own, but his opponents this time around are not malicious of their own free will. Their sanity has been stripped from them, making their deaths as much a mercy to them as it is to Dr. Light's mission. But that's the thing. The fractured minds of his robot kin are certainly unnerving enough to experience. Deeper still, though, at the most base levels of that cybernetic soul, Rock is forcing down an even scarier truth that, for his own sake, he dare not reconcile. He was built for the lab, but he enjoys the killing. The violence comes to him naturally. He is good at it, and it is exhilarating. The world of science may be what he was born to serve, but the howls of war are what called him Mega Man's spirit now. He is repulsed by this on more levels than we can know. There's the obvious, of course. So few killers are without empathy, and it is not lost on our hero that he is causing pain. He is ashamed of this, and is ashamed he is not ashamed even more. Yet the main source of true, unbridled fear that gnaws at the corners of the entirety of his being is in the simple fact that he is a machine that loves that which he was not built to do. Can you understand the gravity of this realization? It is the equivalent of some human lamenting they cannot grow wings because their purpose is to fly. But Mega Man can grow those wings, and he wants to fly so badly, no matter how wrong it registers on a moral level and an existential one. Our next stop is the Sparkman stage, because he is weak to the Shadow Blade, and I am a lazy bitch who does not wish to do any more work than he has to. This robot master has constructed a massive power plant on his world, and we arrive deep in the belly of it. Sparkman requires an insane amount of power to do his work scouring the planet for the fallen star, and this multi-story generator we find ourselves in proves it. I will note there seems to be more reused enemies across levels than was the case in 2, but the level design usually makes the most of their movement in that tug-of-war play, so I only really felt the loss of variety a handful of times when certain enemies were growing a little stale. The most notable challenge in here was these giant trash cubes. Nailing the timing and sliding to narrowly avoid the falling cube is razor-sharp fun, even if I think this particular obstacle is asking too much in terms of timing. It's real easy to fuck up and have 12 tons of trash flatten you if you haven't slid off the bottom cube in time. Sparkman is a walking cattle prod, able to generate immense, searing balls of energy to fry his foes. When we encounter him, he, like the prior 2 bosses, seems completely beyond reason, so hopping mad and spouting such gibberish it genuinely unnerves our 10 protagonists. He makes sure to end Sparkman as quickly and mercifully as he can. Let's head to where that bipolar robot is held up for our next romp. Magnet Man has built an industrial magnet generator to power his intensive mining operations. The floor hums as we tread across it, and our head feels swimmy surrounded by such powerful forces of attraction. The stage starts off strong. Playing around with these magnets that can carry you across the screen had me grinning. It's neat mechanically, but it's also just fun on its face. Of course we'd get nabbed by these things, us being the aforementioned boy made of metal. Breakman is back. Does anybody in the crowd think his tactics have evolved since last time, or do we think he's just going to do the same goddamn thing again? Those of you who answered the latter are clearly the smarter ones in the class. If you stand completely still and slide when he gets close to you, the fight gets even sadder. Well, fuck me. The devs have brought back another recurring level gimmick in these disappearing blocks that materialize in sequence. They're the biggest pain in the ass out of all the pains in the ass classic Mega Man can inundate you with at times. I tried, folks. I really tried. I can't do these. I'm gonna crack something in half. I know for a fact these bastards are going to make me do this over a bottomless pit if I keep going. Please don't make me keep going. Alright, so Rush is built to transform into a multitude of different items, and by that I mean he can do 3 things. He comes pre-installed with the Rush coil, becoming a spring for Mega Man to hop onto and gain extra height. Beating Shadow Man will unlock the Rush Marine, a vehicle that will make underwater sections a breeze. The final upgrade is the Rush Jet, where Rush transforms his body into a rocket Mega Man can pilot to avoid the more headache-inducing platforming challenges. And boy howdy, do I have a fucking migraine. If I'm gonna beat this game, I'm gonna need Rush Jet. It would have been nice if our Pops gave our only companion on this trek through the cosmic unknown a rocket attachment from the start, but whatever, he's apparently a genius. Also, he's not real, which makes the argument I had with him in the shower this morning extra concerning. It is apparent to me I can only beat this level by skipping it. So I took to Google to see who I'd have to go through to get my rocket-powered canine companion. Okay, so in order to unlock my red rocket, I need to go beat Needle Man, who's weak to the Gemini laser. That means Gemini Man is next on the chopping block. Gemini Man found his collapsed star inside a continent-sized crystal glacier, a natural structure of rock and mineral in this faraway world. The air is still and cold as the light of innumerable stars twinkle above this eldritch mountain whose sheer size could bring mortal men to madness. This slide is such a fun addition, man. The level design has yet to take full advantage of it, but using it to avoid enemies once you know their behavior is a rush. These things that spit pillars of fire are a blast to narrowly slide past. But the stage also has a nice progression of obstacles, introducing you to those fire-spitting machines and then having you deal with them over bottomless pits. Breakman shows up again, though he doesn't want to shoot at us this time. Instead, he opens the way to the cavernous maze inside the glacier, where Gemini Man has hollowed out spaces to mine for that star. Inside this mountain are blocks that radiate in alternating colors as light refracts against their crystalline interior. A spiderweb of sediment lines these caverns, and eggs housing strange, floating organisms must be shot open to make our way through this glacial maze. Rush Coil ended up being pretty useful through these sections with the alien mountain sperm, even beyond just using them to nab pickups. It's not exactly cranking a lot out of the mechanic, but hey, it was kind of useful. I even got to use Rush Marine to fuck through some platforming, until I paused to take notes, forgetting pausing despawns Rush, and so I fell to my death. I then came back all out of ammo for Rush Marine, so I ended up having to do that entire section anyway. I am a clown. It ended up being alright, since there's a fun platforming section right before the boss room. Well, like all fun moments in Mega Man 3, it's engaging when everything hits the right balancing act. By the end, the devs throw so much shit at you that between the slowdown and iframes, the difficulty isn't falling into place to make this design as fun as it could be. Then there's Gemini Man himself. He spawns a clone and will run around the room, firing when you fire. But a really cool design element of these classic Mega Man games is that breaking the boss's weakness usually means you don't have to pay too much attention to his behavior, since you can deplete their health faster than they can yours. It's a feature that stupid and lazy people, such as myself, appreciate. I use a Shadow Blade here again, and once Gemini Man loses that clone, he's extra useless. The top spin is actually the weapon he's weakest to, but to wield that blade, one must also cleave thyself. The madness in these robots is increasingly perturbing the Blue Bomber. Mega Man wonders who could have done this to these noble bots. Who would dare shatter their sanity and leave their psyche fractured and twisted out here in the vast expanse of nowhere? With the Gemini laser gotten, we can take the fight to Needle Man. He was the last of the robot masters to make landfall, and his mining operation remains under construction. The first thing we're greeted by is an enemy unique to Needle Man's stage for the time being. Peep these angry porcupines. They help to show the tug of war, where they shoot projectiles from a standstill before becoming invulnerable for a time and charging you. You have to make sharp offensive-defensive movements in a real short window to effectively deal with them. And maybe I'm just talking out of my ass, but this isn't just like, duh, that's how enemies in every video game are. These enemies were designed with very specific behavior and placed in very particular spots to make each encounter with that behavior feel like a unique test of skill. Not every tussle with an opposing robot in Mega Man 2 was like that. The wait your turn to attack conversation with enemies was there, but not at this pace or with this much timing required to nail either a successful offense or defense. These sealing needles are annoying though. The enemies may be telegraphed, but I can't figure out the rhythm to these things. This is also one of the few times the slide has been used for more than just pickups, and it's still not a very interesting implementation here. As fun as it is, the level design itself doesn't make the most of our freshly greased ass this go around. This headbutt Needle Man does upon entering the arena is hysterical to me. It's so quick, he just goes, ugh. The Gemini laser is a pain to use though. It bounces around the room after you fire it, leaving me liable to getting shot full of needles while my lethal beam moseys around the stage like a DVD screensaver. It's best to just walk right up to Needle Man and fire point blank, so there's no chance of the beam overstaying its welcome. It's with that approach I rendered Needle Man to sparkles. For some reason, this robot master seemed the most coherent. Whatever madness befell these poor bots, it seems Needle Man had managed to wrestle himself away just a bit. Mega Man begs the dying robot to tell him who did this to them, what strange and alien force fried their circuitry and turned these peaceful pioneers into raving lunatics. Needle Man doesn't seem to understand the question. It seems he just wants to look into our eyes as he fades away. With Rush Jet now in our arsenal, we can tackle the rest of Magnet Man's stage. Damn, 2 screens past what I correctly assumed to be an annoying-ass platforming section with those disappearing blocks over bottomless pits, we have our boss room. I don't know why the devs are so in love with that mechanic. This is the 3rd time they've used it to pad out a level, and they actually get more infuriating the more times they show up. Each time the devs have given you an item that you can use to skip these parts, which tells me they know how aggravating this obstacle is, making it especially mean that they keep fucking using it. Getting the hang of Magnet Man's boss was pretty fun though. Avoiding the magnet missile's delayed homing attack in such a small space was interesting. Beyond that, he gets electrocuted to death in no time flat. The stage completion music rocks though. We've got 2 new composers to the Mega Man series whipping up the tunes for this installment. Harumi Fujita began work on the soundtrack, but she made the monstrous decision to produce another person. So while she was off giving birth, Yasuaki Fujita completed a majority of the songs for the finished game. I gotta say, they were cooking up some real magic on the NES sound chip back in the day. This music rocks. I think 2's OST as a whole edges this one out by just a hair, but there's a good few songs in here I think are better than what we heard in the last game. That stage completion music is one of them, and that title screen music is up there too. I think there's a real determinate quality to the Mega Man-centered pieces. It sounds like a protagonist with their back against the wall on a solemn mission, and that feeling gives way to something triumphant as the melody kicks in to get us energized. I really enjoy that texture to the Mega Man series, and I'm glad we get it in the soundscape. The Mega Man 3 bosses have a weird weakness chain. Snake Man is weak to the needle cannon, and that means it's finally time to give this jackass some lethal acupuncture. I will say, some obstacles don't feel as fleshed out as they could be. Like this giant snake head with a moving floor you don't even have to touch. I don't really get what they're going for with this one. If you stick to the left third of the room, this enemy is a non-issue, but there's clearly a reason they couldn't better implement that floor gimmick. Was it the troubled development? I don't know. I asked KJ Inafune, but he stopped responding to my emails after I tried to pitch him my own Robot Master, Sleep Paralysis Man. On an unrelated note, I have dreams where I'm violently murdered at least twice a week. The other 5 days I get visited by Sleep Paralysis Man. But this stage also has my favorite enemy in the game. Look at these pole vaulting morons flinging themselves over me. They're perfect. You have to walk up to them to bait them into jumping, wait for their plunger to fall, then slide past them to give yourself enough distance to wail into them. They're a perfect encapsulation of that tug-of-war enemy design that has been Mega Man 3's strongest design element so far. These cloud platforms are glitched as fuck though. If you stand on them the wrong way, they'll teleport you off to the side, so you can conveniently fall to your death. It is, to put it succinctly, bullshit. But with all that in mind, given the tumultuous development that included a major creative shakeup, the team still managed to craft an experience that's been mostly enjoyable so far, and it feels like those rough edges would have been sanded off if things were running smoother behind the scenes. After a short, tense burst of platforming, we reach Snake Man. It's a tragic sight. Snake Man was the first of the Robot Masters to reach his faraway planet, and his madness is more visceral. That makes my revenge somewhat less satisfying to me and all the more upsetting to Mega Man. It's uncanny to see someone you once recognized so completely transformed by madness. But if you end up in the psych ward enough times, you get used to it. With Snake Man put down, that just leaves one final Robot Master. Hard Man. Unfortunate name. At least he looks cool. I'm really enjoying the new Robot Master designs here. These fellas all feel more functional compared to the previous games. We're in a desert, where Hard Man and his crew have been excavating out this mountain in search for the collapsed star. Breakman whistles his way onto the scene once again, but unfortunately for him, they put me in an arena with elevation, making it exceptionally easy to avoid him here. He still does not change tactics. This guy is weird. What the hell is his problem? Sometimes he helps, sometimes he comes in to try and use my spray and pray move against me. As for the rest of Hard Man's stage, I can feel the devs once again layering the challenges, but the obstacles they're combining aren't meshing well here. Those floors with claws that shoot up after you walk over them encourages a constant forward push, but these yellow jagged robots require too much out of Mega Man's movement paired with this obstacle. Again, it's all too much when put together. Mega Man steels himself for this final encounter. He's been torn in two ever since he set foot for the stars. All the violence, all the murder. He feels like a musician playing in perfect tune, spiritually liberated in a way he didn't know was possible. He's done his best not to face this internal truth, but he, like all of us, does not get to choose what he feels. He hates himself for being at home on the battlefield. He hates that he has found a primal release he did not know he needed. Warfare is the dance of man, after all. This robot built for peace should not know how to fight, but Mega Man must fight all the same, and now he knows he wants this, and that makes him hate himself even more. He's certainly become quite the efficient killing machine out here, because the magnet missile makes Hard Man soft. I shouldn't make jokes. This was the most crushing boss to see for poor Mega Man. He knew Hard Man was built with a sensitive soul. Between bouts of intense labor, you could find Hard Man painting portraits of nature, or journaling to himself. That's when it hits us. Hard Man would surely have kept a personal record of his time out in the stars. Maybe he could finally reveal to us what had befallen Doctors Light and Wily's jovial explorers of the cosmos. He finds, in Hard Man's rocket, a notebook written in binary. It was detailed. What else was Hard Man to fill his time with when not excavating for that fallen power source? He had to comb through entry after entry, but finally, Mega Man understood what had happened out here, light years from home. What do we think it was? Was Wily secretly behind the whole affair, his mask of redemption a lie? Was it some intergalactic virus that corrupted their delicate wiring? Could it be space aids? Spades? No. The truth is much more heartbreakingly simple. As Rock watched the mind of his friend degrade in real time, he realizes Hard Man went insane out of loneliness. Months of exploration with no contact outside of his silent helpers brought Hard Man to the heights of despair. These robot masters were modeled after human consciousness, after all, and what are humans if not social creatures? The doctors had unwittingly programmed their creations to be just as susceptible to psychotic breaks from such intense isolation. Hard Man's words are sickening. They paint such a vivid portrait of his descent. It begins with auditory hallucinations. Then he began seeing the ghosts too. Delusions set in. Psychosis. This was the worst it got before a final, gut-wrenching entry, where Hard Man writes an angry letter to God, cursing him for the mind games being played on him. He writes that he is going to climb, and climb until he reaches heaven itself, where God will meet him in a game of chess that will decide whether math will make sense in the material world. I am tired of the jokes you play on me. I wish only to see your true face and know why you have sent your hounds to steal my sleep and chew on my bones. Thus ended Hard Man's personal account of his own sanity leaving him. If he could vomit, Rock would have done so. No one should see this, he thought. No one. He sets off for home with the collapsed stars and the corpses of the defeated robot masters. He sets off with Rush. But he burnt the journal. Now, I've played Mega Man 2, and I've heard tale of people beating the first game, so I was prepared to head into a final gauntlet of stages leading up to a final boss. Not so with Mega Man 3. After finishing off Hard Man, 4 of the previous stages light up. Our hero still has quite the journey home, it seems, for a new, mysterious antagonist is intent on separating us from those celestial batteries. We'll have to return to those 4 stages to gun down the killing machine that now stands in our way, the Doc Robot. Alright, so the game is asking us to return to 4 previous stages with altered level designs to make them more challenging. That in and of itself isn't the worst way of extending game time, so I'm not against these revisits on principle. I'm against these revisits because they fucking suck. We'll open with a positive, at least. Each retread has been given a slightly different coat of paint to tell a progressing visual story. Spark and Gemini Man's stages are slightly dilapidated, and we return to Needle Man's construction site at night. The alterations to the level designs themselves, however, are real sharp downgrades. The challenges don't feel intentionally paced out. They all just feel like a barrage of shit that you aren't given proper room to deal with. Take Shadow Man's revisit. The devs introduced these floors that give way after standing on them. A neat escalation of challenge on their own, but layering them with these enemies and bottomless pits is too much at once. The absolute worst of this comes in our Return to Needle Man stage. You're made to ride Rust Jet through a section peppered with enemies and ammo pickups. Those pickups don't respawn if you die, and they are absolutely mandatory, so you either get it right the first time or you game over right at the halfway point. That, especially, feels like shoddy design they just had to cram in here before shipping this thing out the door. Doc Robot himself seems quite the menacing character. Now here is a bot that was built to hurt, and he seems to do so with ruthless efficiency. He's stolen the consciousnesses of the Mega Man 2 robot masters, copying their abilities while wearing the faces of the dead. Mega Man looks upon his new foe and realizes he should be terrified. But that isn't what pricks at our hero, what makes this Doc Robot so captivating to the Blue Bomber. This is not horrific. In Doc Robot, our hero sees freedom. A bot bred to battle, a thing made to sow pain. This is exactly what Rock wishes he was. Maybe if he was built like this Doc Robot, he wouldn't be torn like this. If he was made to fight, these moral hang-ups would disappear. If Dr. Light had made him like Doc Robot, the bliss of violence need not come with such crushing guilt, for what else would Mega Man be capable of? He would have wings and have no choice but to fly. And the more we face Doc Robot, again and again meeting this thing in combat, Mega Man gets angrier. His circuitry sends sparks of rage over all that he cannot be, now neither fully at home playing with test tubes or with machines of war. It hits Rock that he is existentially homeless, and now before him stands an example of the freedom of purpose necessity has robbed from this 8-bit marvel. Rock, however, is one to see the silver lining. If this thing is meant to fight, then fight it we shall. And, for the first time, we can be vicious and without mercy. We can unchain the tempestuous fire of violence that calls to us, and let our synthetic soul be truly lost in its purifying flames that sear all away but the four walls and the thing of metal in front of us. The world disappears, and all that is left is a beautiful dance of hate. Violence, you see, is transformative. Mega Man knows it, and he's felt the change already. But what will come out of the other side of this baptism of fire as Rock introduces himself to purer and purer forms of hurt? We certainly get plenty of chances to find out, because they make you fight this guy 8 times, twice in each retread. And can I just say, trouble development or not, who is the chuckle fuck who decided you only get a checkpoint right before the second fight? If you mess up that first mid-level battle, your ass is sent right to the beginning of the stage. Again, if you took away my save states, I'd never see the credits to this game. I will not be manhandled by some Japanese guys from 40 years ago. And though he's replicating the boss patterns of the previous 8 Robot Masters, every Doc Robot fight feels like an absolute war of attrition, as, once again, these attacks just feel like a barrage of shit. I don't feel like I beat anything. I feel like I won the law of averages. The Mega Man 2 bosses are still weak to weapons in 3, which makes these encounters easier for sure, but it doesn't neuter the challenge or anything. You still have to deal with extra aggressive ghosts of Robot Masters past, and they all still feel like too much, no matter if you know what weapon they like the least. The best part about these levels was being given the opportunity to experiment with those special weapons. There's no game-breaking ones like the Metal Blade of 2, but they're all unique and fairly balanced. Some upgrades remain more useful than others, and some weapons, like the Needle Cannon, feel too similar to your Mega Buster to warrant using it very often. But weapons like the Magnet Missile or Search Snake change up how you attack just enough to be interesting to use for me. 8 times we engage Doc Robot in battle, and with each win, Mega Man loses himself to the flames even more. 8 bloody songs of metallic obliteration, as these bots let all that is not built on pain fade away into the furthest quarters of their souls. Mega Man proves himself to be the stronger machine, though it comes at a cost. Sublime violence has shown him all that he cannot be, and though euphoric while in action, soon Doc Robot's defeat brings all those feelings he kept tucked away barreling from their hiding places, with a ferocity poor Rock could barely handle. It was better before, when he could only get tastes of purity. But for these 4 levels, we lived that purity. Now it is gone, and all the complexities that make us who we are return to the forefront of our being. It is nearly crippling to be reminded that life goes on beyond the arena. With Doc Robot finally eviscerated, Breakman once again appears on our way back home. He's decided to unveil his new strategy of doing the same thing again. These are pretty pathetic showings on Breakman's part, which says a lot coming from a guy who basically plays like Breakman anyway. We're in for a curveball, however, because once we hand off those stars we collected, Wily runs away with the now fully powered Gamma. Wily then makes another noise that still makes me want to punch him in the throat before skedaddling to a new fortress that will take all of Mega Man's skills and weaponry to conquer. With that, we can now head to the actual final gauntlet with Wily Castle Stage 1. This stage was weird, man. The challenge was strapped to a chair and given a shoddy lobotomy because some of these sections aren't just easy, they're brain dead. These blocks can once again get fucked, however. You get showered with energy refills too. You'd think that we would be preparing for a real tough-as-nails boss fight past these doors, but this thing that spits a turtle at you continues this level's theme of being so easy I feel numb for winning. These air currents push you around while the turtles this thing shits out get progressively faster. The combined challenge should never come close to killing you unless you gave yourself a lobotomy just to make this part the hardest boss in video game history. Wily Castle 2 left another weird taste in my mouth. I feel like the devs are once again layering too many challenges at once through these rooms, but somehow it remains completely uninteresting. The continued generosity in the energy pickups combined with NES slowdown was probably enough to kneecap the difficulty before it got to be annoying. That's on top of the patient having the needle in its brain, so the poor thing has been through a lot. Let's see if it recovers by the time I make it to the next boss. Turns out, the difficulty is back for revenge and started thwacking me in the shins. The boss of Wily Castle 2 is an upgraded Yellow Devil, a character I lack the pain tolerance to reach in Mega Man 1. This is the kind of challenge that seems designed to fuck with me specifically, as the Yellow Devil Mark II arrives in blocks you have to hop or slide under. My reflexes are extra twitchy when he does this, and so I constantly collide into oncoming devil bits. He's weak to the hard knuckle, and after a few phases, he goes down. It's overall not too painful, just more chaotic crap that feels impossible to handle all at once. With this aggravating series of bouncing cubes defeated, we progress on to Wily Castle Stage 3. Damn, they're really just giving out free E-tanks in here. I like the new music we're getting, though. It's emphasizing that determinate quality in Mega Man again as he pushes forward, past Dr. Wily's machinations sent out to stop our blue bomber. I don't know what the music is being so dramatic about, though, since I now have plenty of E-tanks. This level had the potential to be interesting. The rooms with enemies are made a non-issue thanks to the special weapons, thank you Search Snake, but these rooms laden with spikes and moving platforms was a really cool, fresh challenge. They milked this thing for 2 screens, and that's all you get before another kinda annoying boss. But like mosquito bite annoying. This machine is apparently generating holograms of Mega Man that shoot real bullets. Only one of the 3 on these differing elevations is tangible, and therefore as vulnerable to real bullets as you are. The thing becomes an annoying guessing game. If they had just given me a little more time before the thing shoots, this would be a kind of fun boss. Alas, I think we're just really feeling the strained development. I guess Mega Man murdered those other robot masters quicker than Wily thought, so the castle is rather unfurnished. But every now and again, there's a Home Alone trap the Doctor had time to whip up that flicks me in the balls. Listen, if you think I'm feeling them, imagine how Mega Man's taking this downgrade. If there was a sharper challenge here, maybe he could keep his eyes in front of him. But, after everything, riding Rust Jet or avoiding sporadic enemies is like a long car ride to him. And Christ, this poor Rock not want to be alone with his thoughts right now. Encounters with Doc Robot brought the man to the edges of barbarity, as we carefully selected our killing tools and braved a seemingly endless onslaught. He doesn't even feel it was necessary to be as brutal as he was. It just felt good. And ladies and gentlemen, there are certain spiritual lines we draw for ourselves between us and the animals. This robot has crossed so many in his cruelty to his metal kin. Once they're crossed, a different person meets your eyes in the mirror, and Mega Man is being made to stare at his reflection. Who is he now? He can't ever go back to being that bright-eyed lab assistant he once was. He knows himself too thoroughly. What creature will this man of metal become to be true to the self he now knows is rattling around in that cybernetic head? The tragedy of it is, Rock was forced into violence, and based on his circuitry, he had no other choice but to love it. His father made him this way. Could it be undone? Could he beg to have some wiring tweaked to make him forget he was ever Mega Man at all? Would he even want to forget? He genuinely doesn't know, but the more violence he finds he wants to embrace yet despises himself for loving, he is coming, more and more, to hate Dr. Thomas Light. Was Wily right after all? Has science made a thing too aware for its own good, so repulsed by itself when made to act as it was programmed? Dr. Light made everything about him. He fitted him for battle. But even before that, at the moment of his coming online, Light had programmed something so advanced he had no idea it could feel the existential dread of being. That complex web of emotions that push and pull us between who we are and who we want to be. Wily Castle 4 is a boss rush. Along with running off with Gamma, Wily collected the 8 corpses of the robot masters we brought home and repaired them. To a degree, anyway. He didn't have time to cure their unsettling madness. As a last-ditch defense, Wily regrettingly sends them into battle. This is the final straw to our hero. He has awoken people who were better off dead than alive like this. Maybe Wily doesn't see it because of a divide between flesh and metal, but whatever the case, Mega Man resolves to finally put an irreparable end to these poor souls. A final cathartic release he knows for certain is a mercy. On to Wily Castle 5, where we see Wily build a really stupid-looking machine to deal with us. Again, he was clearly pressed for time. Luckily for us, if you use Rust Jet, it can do absolutely nothing against us as we shred down its health. With his machine destroyed, Wily is spit out before us and begs for mercy yet again. As we approach, however, it's revealed to be a robotic dummy set up by the Mad Doctor to buy himself time. For what, exactly? We'll see as we approach our final boss. But first, an energy break. How kind of him. These things come in a pattern, though. Generosity followed by lobotomy, remember? Let's see if the trend continues. I'm not going to keep going with the lobotomy metaphor because it's genuinely giving me a headache. But rest assured, they give you a final boss that certainly had one. It looks like Wily didn't have time to get Gamma fully operational and just left this spitting turret in lieu of anything actually challenging. You can stand right beneath this thing and light it up with Shadow Blade, and the projectiles it shoots have no chance of hitting you. But it looks like that distraction bought Wily just enough time to make his final adjustments to Gamma's CPU. With that, he attaches the massive computer to the robot shell it animates, and Gamma is brought to life. Light and Wily failed to program much IQ into their peacekeeping robot, though. Look at this idiot try to punch me. The projectile shot from Gamma's mouth just come at an awkward height to dodge, so that prolongs this basic platforming challenge you have to do to get within shooting range. It was an aggravating choice to make the top spin his weakness. That's fucking up the timing, sends you back to the ground, and you get shot full of bullets on your way back up. I get falling is the trade-off to using it, but by God, the top spin is just an annoying weapon in practice. The punishment should just be taking chip damage. It should be substantially less easy to mess up the timing. What a stupid weapon. Maybe this is what drove Top Man insane. Every time he tried to use this against a guy trying to mug him, he just spun into the knife. I don't even know why I'm complaining. Just use Rush Jet again and screw Wiley over entirely. Wiley falls to his knees before us yet again. His face burns as he remembers how we dealt out justice the last time. He doesn't know what we'll do to him now that he's survived once before, and he genuinely fears for his life. We'll never know what Mega Man would have done, if he would have once again embraced the path forward forged by his father, or if he was forced to recognize Wily's misgivings held crushing weight. This is because the hastily built castle begins to crumble around the two, and they are instead met with actual crushing weight beneath the synthetic cinder blocks stitched together to make this fortress. Luckily for us, a shadowy figure arrives. He scours the rubble and believes Wily to be fatally flattened. But he finds us still barely functioning and rescues Mega Man from what would have been his grave. Mega Man awakes in Dr. Light's lab. Upon seeing his father, all those conflicted feelings explosively meet like atoms in a collider. On one end, the desire to be embraced by the man who made him. On the other end, there was now a newfound hate after all he'd been made to endure, all he'd been made to face about himself. And their internal explosion is paralyzing. Mega Man is unsure of how to react, and it takes him a moment to realize his father has begun speaking. Light wonders who could have brought us back home, until he hears Breakman's distinctive whistle. How does Light recognize this? Because that is the whistle of Proto Man. Combing through Light's files reveals a shocking truth. Before Elect Man, Cut Man, Guts Man, and all the rest, before Rock himself, Light had built another robot. A prototype to all the sentient mechanical creations that built Light's robotics empire. This makes Proto Man the older brother to Mega Man himself. He doesn't have lungs, but poor Rock needed fresh air. We bolt from the lab and look to the skies, that cauldron of emotions boiling over in his cybernetic soul. His father meant everything to him, and yet his anger towards the paragon of progress who thought not of what inner hell he was unleashing to his now conscious beings, well, it could blot out the sun. He didn't know who Dr. Light was to him anymore. He didn't know if Wily was right. He didn't even know where to find his brother. In some deep part of ourselves, Rock hopes Wily survived. And, just as the thought blinks across his emotional processors, he sees, off in the distance, a small capsule that brings Mega Man some solace in knowing the mad but also right doctor made it out alive. And, as we all know, this means the war between the doctors is doomed to go on. But, after everything, when the question is asked, on which side will Rock decide to fall? A better question. Now that he knows he is a craftsman of brutality, will it even matter? Will Mega Man simply give in and choose the path that lets him destroy? Mega Man 3 can be a hard sell. The base 8 levels are well crafted and fun, but they feel like they're just starting to crank the most out of the design. That tug of war is exhilarating, but it appeared in short bursts. The level and enemy design isn't making the most of the moveset yet, which sucks because the slide is such a fun addition, and using it to narrowly avoid danger resulted in 3's most gratifying moments. So, back in the day, did they develop these platformers in chronological order? Because this thing nosedives in the latter two-thirds, and it was obviously because of behind-the-scenes complications. KJ Inafune was given too much to juggle on his first time spearheading the creative charge. On top of that is a new producer causing friction, and Capcom deciding to cut a few months of development time, and the finished piece has definitely knocked down quite a few pegs as a whole for me, because of what feels like obvious, needless, and often frustrating filler. I want to love the game in spite of it all, but the truth is, I just don't think it overcomes those development troubles. Still, I'm excited to see how Inafune and the team refine what's really working here. That slide rules, and I want to see them take those microbursts I was getting from the tug-of-war they've settled on and introduce it to the level design itself, seeing just how much these stages can crank out of using this mechanic. Will they evolve that tug-of-war style of play? Or will a more seasoned team with a smoother development cycle take this somewhere my dumbass can't even yet conceive of? I guess we'll have to find out next time. For now, we leave the blue bomber seething beneath the sunset, sparks firing in the confines of his soul. He is torn between the lies and the love of his father, and the misunderstood Dr. Wily desperately trying to pull humanity back before they introduce something new to the ocean of madness that is conscious living. What's the cost of conscious living? Always being two things at once. In Mega Man's case, he is still a caring young lad who hates to see another bot in pain. Yet, at the same time, he has come to love the inverted nirvana of violence. And he knows not how to resolve this, to become something truly free. He fears it may not even be possible. He fears his being will be torn forever. I just fear being, personally. And cats with human hands. They're one of the things that killed me in my death dream. Usually I just get shot by someone I know and love, and subsequently bleed out for what feels like hours as the life slowly leaves my body. And then I wake up, or the shotgun goes off. So far that dice roll has been giving me nothing but snake eyes. You feel me?